Owlcat Games recently announced a Rogue Trader CRPG, but are they sitting on an even larger project that none of us have heard of up till now? According to some fairly convincing sources I found, this may just be a side project for them. This, plus I sat down recently with one of the developers for the original Rogue Trader TTRPG to find out exactly what happened to the old line of products and why they died out to be replaced with a new line. So stay tuned if you want some inside information on the production of Warhammer 40,000 roleplaying. But first, thanks to everybody who's watching. We've got a lot of new faces around the channel now after the Daggerdale video did so well last week, so to all the new viewers, I'd just like to say, hey, welcome to the cool side of the pillow. And if you're not subscribed, hi, I'm William SRD. Lately, I've been walking that line between video games and tabletop role-playing games, so if you're into either one of those things, then please help a small mom-and-pop YouTuber out by hitting the like button. And consider supporting me on Patreon if you can. I've got all sorts of really neat perks for you, including being listed in the monthly patron credit roll. And yes, I'm well aware that I don't normally make news videos like this, but I had so many small topics that I needed to talk about that probably didn't need their own video, so I just figured that a news update is kind of the best way to format them. So without further ado, let's just Philip DeFranco right into it. Now, let's start with my channel's sweetheart, Owlcat Games. As I'm sure you've probably heard by now, Owlcat is creating a Rogue Trader CRPG based off of the 2009 Rogue Trader rulebook, which was part of the FFG Warhammer 40,000 role-playing line. Now, when I heard this, it awoke something primal in me, and it has had a similar effect on people who also have a history with these games. But as monumental an occasion as this is, it may just actually be a little side project while Owlcat works on something bigger. According to a news agency that claims to have an inside source, Owlcat might be working on their first AAA game. Now, in the interest of being as careful as I can with my words here and to make sure that I'm not misleading anyone, I will let you know that there are some layers of credibility here with this story. So I'm going to let you know where I got all these sources because some of them are basically confirmed and others are a little bit more nebulous tinfoil hat stuff that seems credible, but I'm not able to fact check them for reasons we'll get into soon. Let's start with the stuff that's confirmed. We know that Owlcat's previous two games, Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, were created on the Unity engine. Now, I'm only one man, but I've not been able to find any conclusive statements from Owlcat as to what engine they're going to be using for Rogue Trader. However, come on, look at these screenshots. It's the same engine they built their last two games on. Very clearly, look at them. I'm staking my entire credibility on this. Rogue Trader will be built on Unity. If I am wrong, you can post this clip and just put me in like a clown outfit and clown squeaky nose because Rogue Trader will be built in Unity. So if their next game, which is their only currently announced project, is going to be built in Unity, why is it they have a bunch of job postings open for people with experience with the Unreal Engine? The further proof is to read a little bit elsewhere on these job listings and to see this. They're hiring developers for both existing projects and those that are planned for launch, which is like, tell me you have unannounced projects without telling me you have unannounced projects, you know what I mean? So we can pretty much confirm that Owlcat absolutely does have something unannounced up their sleeves that they're working on, probably in parallel with Rogue Trader. But what we don't know is this a new game, or are they working on an engine for the sequel to whatever their next Pathfinder or 40K game will be? We are now entering waters that I cannot easily fact check. So take all of this with a very healthy dose of skepticism. According to eScoreNews.com, they've confirmed from inside sources that Owlcat Games is apparently working on a AAA title based off of an existing IP they have not worked with before. As in, it is not Pathfinder and it is not Warhammer 40,000. Although I can't really fact check their inside source, I was able to follow some of their claims backwards. Now, Owlcat Games is based in Cyprus, but a large part of their dev team has always been Russian. Therefore, it's not a huge surprise to note that the Russian web has some information that the English web does not have access to. Which is also why I'm saying that I can't really confirm this information. It is extremely hard for me to fact-check anything in Russian. However, according to Russian sources linked to this eScore news article, the unannounced game is described as The Witcher in Space, which would mean that we're actually getting 2 sci-fi games from Owlcat in a row. So, tinfoil hat time. What existing IP do we know of that could possibly be described as The Witcher in Space, and also has enough money and hype attached to it that would let our favorite little studio create a AAA game? I find myself agreeing with a commenter I saw on a Reddit thread who suggested that it kind of sounds like they got the rights to make a Mandalorian RPG. But I'm gonna turn this one over to you guys. What do you think? Do you think these sources about an Owlcat AAA game are credible? And if so, what do you think they're working on? I invite you all to hash out your best theories in my comments section. Moving on, the second topic I want to touch on today is somewhat related to the first. The tabletop version of Rogue Trader. I sat down recently with Ross Watson, who is one of the original developers for the old FFG lines of Warhammer 40,000 role-playing, and was the lead developer during the launch of Wrath and Glory. So I was able to ask him a ton of things that the community has been wondering about for years. Most notably, we got a fact check on my video a couple weeks ago in which I used all the publicly available information we had to explain why Rogue Trader, Dark Heresy, Death Watch, and all the old lines went away. And now we have confirmed exactly what happened.
But the nail in the coffin was the miniature side, because once Fantasy Flight started making miniatures games for Star Wars, X-Wing, etc. They became a competitor for Games Workshop. And Games Workshop's policy, again, which makes perfect sense, they don't license games, or they don't license their IP to competitors in their main area of business, which is the miniature side. So once that happened, it was essentially inevitable.
That's right, I was correct. Not the debate lords in my comments section, I was right. However, I was incorrect about one detail. I suggested that Dark Heresy 2nd Edition had its production rate slow to a crawl because Fantasy Flight knew they were going to lose the rights to Dark Heresy. But that's not quite what happened. What actually happened was that Fantasy Flight Games, being that they had acquired the rights to create Star Wars role-playing and board games, they basically just went, we have Star Wars now, drop everything else and rush this stuff out of the press as fast as we can print it. Which meant that Dark Heresy suffered. I'm gonna post the full interview tomorrow, in which we mostly talk about the entire production side of all of these old Warhammer 40,000 games, from their earliest conception up to Wrath and Glory in the modern day. So if you want all the inside details that you have never heard before, then that's coming up tomorrow. But I will leave you with this one interesting little tidbit I think you'll enjoy.
And then we started talking about what would the future hold. So we started throwing ideas around. The one I was a big fan of was I wanted to do an Eldar RPG.
Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week when I'll be covering a particularly rough around the edges Warhammer 40,000 video game. So stay tuned for that.